In Washington, the U.S. Senate on Thursday narrowly rejected a bipartisan resolution that sought to prevent President Donald Trump from launching military attacks on Venezuela without congressional authorization, deepening the divide over his increasingly aggressive Latin America strategy. The measure, introduced by Senators Tim Kaine of Virginia, Adam Schiff of California, and Republican Rand Paul of Kentucky, failed 51-49 after only two Republicans, Paul and Alaska's Lisa Murkowski, broke ranks to join Democrats, leaving Trump with few formal constraints on his military powers in the region. The vote followed months of mounting unease over U.S. operations in the Caribbean and Pacific, where at least 16 strikes against small vessels suspected of drug trafficking have killed more than 65 people since September. The administration has characterized the dead as narco-terrorists, yet has provided little public evidence linking them to violent acts or drug shipments bound for the United States, prompting legal experts to warn that the attacks may violate international law and even U.S. prohibitions against assassination. On Wednesday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth privately briefed select congressional leaders, insisting the administration had no current plans to strike Venezuelan territory, though they acknowledged the legal rationale for the ongoing campaign made no mention of Venezuela itself. Lawmakers left unconvinced. Democrats argued that Trump's expanding naval presence, complete with warships, fighter jets, and thousands of troops, belied his public denials of escalation and feared the buildup could spill into a direct confrontation with Nicolás Maduro's government. Senator Adam Schiff warned that if the administration truly saw no imminent hostilities, there would be no reason for this level of firepower in the Caribbean. The Trump team has insisted its actions are justified on national security grounds, claiming the operations are designed to curb the flow of cocaine and fentanyl, though most boats struck reportedly carried small-scale traffickers or civilians. Critics accuse the White House of exploiting counter-narcotics rhetoric to mask a broader campaign to destabilize Maduro's U.S. regime, especially after Trump labeled several Latin American cartels as foreign terrorist organizations and hinted he had authorized covert CIA activities in Venezuela. He later downplayed those remarks, telling 60 Minutes he doubted a war would occur, but his unpredictability has left allies and adversaries on edge. Within Congress, frustrations have deepened over limited transparency. Lawmakers from both parties complain they have received little data on casualties, costs, or strategic objectives, while the administration continues to brief only select members. Senator Mark Warner, the top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee, noted that nothing in the administration's legal opinion justified strikes on Venezuelan land, while senior officials maintained that such action could still be defended under broad national security terms. During Thursday's debate, Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer demanded a full briefing for all 100 senators, saying Congress must reassert its constitutional responsibility over the power to declare war. Supporters of the resolution argued that the Constitution clearly requires congressional approval for any sustained military engagement, and warned that unchecked executive authority could entangle the U.S. in yet another foreign conflict. Opponents, led by Senator Jim Risch of Idaho, countered that Trump already possessed sufficient authority as commander-in-chief and praised his decisive campaign against drug traffickers. Yet even among Republicans, discomfort surfaced. Indiana, S. Todd Young, and Maine, S. Susan Collins said they were open to future efforts to narrow the president's powers, while South Dakota, S. Mike Rounds questioned whether existing law applied to a country with which the U.S. is not at war. Outside Congress, human rights groups and international law scholars have called for an independent investigation into the strikes, arguing that targeting unarmed vessels without due process undermines both domestic and international legal norms. The episode marks the second time in as many months that the Senate has rejected an attempt to rein in Trump's war powers. A similar resolution aimed at halting the maritime strikes failed, 51-48, in October. Analysts say the back-to-back defeats underscore both the Republican Party S. continued deference to Trump, S. expansive view of executive authority, and Congress' persistent struggle to reclaim its war-making prerogatives after decades of presidential dominance. For now, the administration-ES assurances that it is not preparing to attack Venezuela have temporarily calmed some fears on Capitol Hill, but many lawmakers remain wary that the situation could shift abruptly given Trump's history of reversing course. As the Pentagon maintains a heavy presence across the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific, the question looming over Washington is not only whether Trump intends to escalate against Maduro's government, but whether Congress will ever succeed in restraining a president determined to wield military power with minimal oversight.